Okay, so like we were saying, we have new proficiency scales, so we're going to work on making sure we know what to do with that, because that means we also have new learning goals. And since we have new learning goals and a new proficiency scale, I want to make sure you know exactly what is expected of you. So at this point, you do not need to be on your Chromebooks. I will also tell you that for some people, when we went to do the writing down the expanded version of your learning goals, I got some really good feedback. The boxes here aren't really big enough for a lot of people to write in because they write a little bit bigger. So in the future, I'll make sure to make the boxes for your expanded ones bigger. So what I told people they can do is you can write our expanded learning goals on a piece of paper and then staple that to your proficiency chart. So that way you always know what you are expected to do. So remember with the proficiency chart, and you have two places you can be looking now, either at the screen or at your proficiency chart. Remember, we always start with approaching, and then we work up to proficient and exceeding. Question I have for you all, as a class, this is the way that the proficiency scales kind of are organized for us as teachers. For you, would it make more sense to have the approaching stuff checked box first, since that's what you have to do first, or is it fine having the exceeding first, or does it not matter? Doesn't matter? Okay, cool. All right. So, a couple of things to notice about our approaching the standard. First, where should we be focused, gentlemen? Because we're not either one of the two places I said we should be. Okay? First thing you will notice about the proficiency scale, there is a ton of vocabulary for this. Okay? Because of that, we as the teachers kind of decided, if you look, at your proficiency scale, you will see that the vocabulary is actually broken up into three groups. There's one chunk of vocab words that is called government systems. There is one chunk of vocab words that is called government structure. And then there is one called Pax Romana. You are going to be responsible for knowing all of these words, but instead of just giving you a list of like 30 words at once, we're breaking them up and organizing them in groups that go together to make it more manageable. So, here is our new learning goal. I can recognize or recall specific terminology related to the government systems and government structures of classical civilizations. So this is what I am expecting you to be able to do. And remember, this is the part that would go in the little box that says expanded standard or on that separate piece of paper. So I can, and then remember, anytime we have the different colored words, that's a clue that it's something that is like we're going to explain so you know exactly what you need to do. Okay? So why don't we split apart, because you all are distracting each other more than focusing and paying attention. So one of you needs to move, and that needs to be a permanent move. I can recognize or recall. So here's what that means. If we're recognizing and recalling, basically, you can memorize what the words are, and you can define them. Okay? So I can recognize or recall. This is memorize and define. So I can memorize and define specific terminology, right? Specific. Now, what does this word terminology mean? Anybody know? And if not, that's okay, because it's not necessarily a word that we've gone over.
I don't know, but I know what the word specific means.
What does specific mean?
Specific is like pointing out something, and it's like describing the thing like.
Right, you're describing that one thing. Great job. Yeah.
I was going to say describing that it's the one exactly.
Yeah. So terminology. This is a super fancy pants way of saying terms or vocabulary words. So when we say terminology, that basically means you're talking about vocab words. So you can memorize what this really long list of words are. That's why we're breaking it into chunks. So you can memorize what the words are that go with government systems, and you can define those words. Okay? Related to the government systems. So this is our next word that we kind of have to explain. So when we think of government systems, here's what that means. Government systems is going to mean the types of government. So that was not a suggestion. One of you two needs to figure out who's moving and make that happen. You've got 30 seconds to make it happen. The types of government
Students, at this time, if you are in honor choir, please head to the choir room. Again, if you are in honor choir, please head to the choir room. Thank you.
Okay. Government structure would be should be lowercase. So government structure is how the government is organized. Okay? Just a second, Hartley. Oh, okay. You're fine. And Mr. Seymour has taught us what classical civilizations are. We said there were 3 classical civilizations. Do we remember what they were? Not at this moment. When we finish this, we're going to be doing something that's independent. You could go then. Okay? So let's use our inferences and let's think about this, right? If our learning goal is about classical civilizations, and I said that there are 3 classical civilizations, would I be talking about classical civilizations if we're not learning about them?
No.
So what would be a good inference that one of them might be? Yes.
Like Rome or something?
Rome, right?
Oh. Well, I could say that.
You could have. What is another one of our classical civilizations if we're using the same inference idea?
Rome.
We got that one. Greece.
Mesopotamian.
Love the way you're thinking about that, right? So we're thinking using prior knowledge. So the third one is China. But are we learning about China now? No. So basically, we will just start right now. Basically, this is basically saying you can memorize and define specific terms and vocabulary words related to the types of government and how the governments were organized in Greece and Rome. So we've already learned about some of that stuff in Greece. We're learning about it in Rome now. Like I told you, there's a ton of vocabulary words, and this first approaching is basically knowing those vocab words. To help you with that, on Canvas, there is something called visual vocabulary. So you will see that there's this slideshow that's in today's vocab words, or today's lesson, right? This gives you a list of the vocab words. And I like this a lot because it gives you the vocab word, it gives you the definition, and then it explains why it's important or gives you the key facts to know about those words, right? So not only are you getting the word and the definition, it gets you what you need to know in order to be successful for when we are going for proficient. So for now, just knowing the word and the vocab is good for approaching, but when we get to proficient, you're going to need to be able to do some of this stuff too. So the next thing that you are going to work on, I am going to give you about 5 minutes to just familiarize yourself with these vocab words. There's a group activity that we will be doing in about 5 minutes, but you need to have at least an idea of what these words mean. But does that mean Mr. Seymour is expecting you to have them memorized in 5 minutes? No. Okay? So go through the visual vocabulary. Make sure you're kind of familiarizing yourself with the words, so that way you'll be able to do that activity that we are doing next. Any questions on that? Okay, you may go ahead and start looking through that independently.